Bringing in everybody, we're here with another War Rapport Wednesday with our good friend Mike Gittens, co-founder of the War Rapport and a co-host of the shows. They do phenomenal content and all things Auburn. Mike, thank you so much for stopping by, my friend.
Thanks for having me. War Rapport Wednesdays is officially a thing.
There we go.
And so I'm happy to sit down and talk to our listeners every week about what's going on with Auburn football.
Absolutely love it. So let's get right into it. So last week we talked about how great Hank Brown did. We're on the other side of that spectrum now with the quarterback situation in Auburn. First of all, a disappointing loss at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Your reaction to what went down last Saturday?
It was a lot of the same. Another game Auburn loses where they can't score 21 points. It's been so disappointing for Auburn fans to have 3 straight offensive head coaches, yet offense is always the problem, Rex. So they were hoping Hugh Freeze would be the thing that solved this math problem for them, and it just hasn't panned out through the first year and 4 games. But hopefully going into Oklahoma, we'll see some changes. After the game, he said, asked about the direction of quarterback, he said, I have no idea where I'm going. That was a little disconcerting, but we'll see how they flesh it out. Right now, it's not even about practice because you've seen what you've needed to see from Peyton in practice. He said he's a great practice player, just hasn't translated. And for our guy, Hank Brown, it's about kind of processing the game, slowing things down in your mind, adjusting to the speed of play, and making good decisions with the football in your hand.
I wanted to actually touch on the post-game Hugh Freeze. It was very, let's say, frustrated. You can see he was visibly frustrated, and he was brutally honest, I think it's fair to say that. That kind of rubbed some fans the wrong way. Your reaction to like him being kind of just that open that this is where we are right now. I just need to find a guy, his words, who just won't throw the ball to the other team, right?
Well, as media, we love brutal honesty.
Right.
As a fan, I'm not sure how much you want your coach to say of what he said. But ultimately what it comes down to, he said what we all saw. And I think that that's always okay. We saw them throw the ball to the other team. Now, I watched Aaron Murray's breakdown of this game again. Excellent watch.
100% an excellent watch to check out.
Snaps CFB on YouTube. But Rex, on the first interception, the defender just made a great play on the ball. He peeled off his man that was running up the field on kind of like an inside slant, and he tipped the ball up and it was intercepted. On the third interception, same thing. I wish Hugh Freeze would have given Hank Brown the second half to work through his issues. Not sure I agree with the decision to pull him at halftime, but Hugh Freeze said, I saw this play out 2 weeks ago, and I felt like this was the direction that I needed to go. So we'll see what he does this week. Is there a possibility that we see 2 quarterbacks maybe? I think they're playing around with the idea. Peyton Thorne gives you something different with his legs. Hank Brown obviously is all arm. So, you know, the dichotomy between the 2 quarterbacks maybe gives Oklahoma more to prepare for.
So kind of that TJ Finley, Robbie Ashford situation.
Possibly, yeah. I don't think fans are going to be happy to hear that, but, you know, he's got to win football games at this point because you're getting ready to go into a really tough stretch. And if you can't beat Oklahoma at home on the Plains, that road stretch could see you go 0 for 3 in October, and it would be tough to go into November 2-6.
You brought that up the last time we spoke, that if you don't get this game, it looks daunting. And now if you go against Oklahoma, good news about Oklahoma, I guess, if there is that, they had their own struggles at home against Tennessee. They're kind of dealing with a quarterback situation as well. So is this, I guess, a second chance to turn things around for Auburn?
It is. It is. Now, your season's not done. You've only played 1 conference game, but the outlook is tough because it's the SEC and there are no cupcakes left on the schedule. Rex, I don't know if you saw Vanderbilt take Missouri to overtime.
Wild.
I guess so. You're looking at that game in November, and that no longer looks like a cream puff. Now they come to Jordan-Hare, but you can't count anything as a win from now until the end of November. And that's a tough place for Hugh Freeze to be. So he's got to find a way to split the next 4. You got to be, so for everybody listening, you go Oklahoma at home, Georgia on the road, Missouri on the road, Kentucky on the road with a bye week between Georgia and Missouri. I think Oklahoma and Kentucky are the games that you get. And hopefully you've got 4 wins there headed into November, and you can try to salvage a 2-2 stretch there and get to 6 or 7 wins.
I got a headache just from you talking about that road. That road stretch is brutal. Absolutely. So we also talked about your concerns on defense. Now, good news, we got a couple turnovers. Bad news, though, I think some of the holes and some of the weaknesses still exposed with Auburn's defense.
Yeah, Champ Anthony with a big hit on Saturday.
Massive hit. Helmet flew off. Everyone was all going crazy. We were all hyped for it, and then bad news.
And then he got hurt. Yeah, so he had surgery. Hugh Freeze said that his surgery was successful and he's in good spirits. But Kane Lee's return saw him get a turnover. He got a big interception that kept Auburn in the game at that point. Look, the defense is holding, in the losses, they've held both opponents to under 350 yards of total offense. At some point, the dam's going to break if you cannot hold on to the ball and score points. So in today's college football, you're not going to win many games where you score only 14 points. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. So what can Auburn's defense do? Well, you can force more turnovers to try to win the turnover battle, but if your offense is turning over at the rate they are, that's going to be difficult. And you have to get after the quarterback. Now, you mentioned that Oklahoma's going to be starting their backup QB, Michael Watkins Jr. He's a freshman, but he presents a challenge in that he's a mobile quarterback, and Auburn has struggled to defend mobile quarterbacks.
Oh, boy.
So, it's been bend but don't break for DJ Durkin's defense. I think he's doing great. It's not perfect, but it is giving them a chance to win games. So guys just have to step up and make big plays, I think, and you'll be all right defensively.
I know a lot of the spotlight and a lot of the air in this conversation is about the quarterback. And as you mentioned, the quarterback situation is in turmoil right now. We have all these great weapons. Does the offensive line play need to step up as well, or is it decision-making? What are we thinking?
Yes, and you can always use better blocking, especially when Hank Brown is in the game, because he's not as mobile as Peyton Thorne is. So far, the biggest issue that they've had has been just the quarterbacks holding on to the ball. Offensive line play is not excellent, but it's been good enough for them to win games. They've created holes for running backs. Again, we saw them open a lane for Damari Alston. He got all the way upfield and then fumbled the ball.
That hurt all of us.
Yeah, look, and nobody's more sick about that than Damari Alston. I know that young man personally. He's a great kid. He works really hard. But him and Jarquez have to hold on to the ball. Offensively, I think the offensive line is doing a decent enough job. We released a clip on Twitter this morning asking Hugh Freeze about their offensive identity. What is your offensive identity? Because in the past, it's been about 55% run, 45% pass.
Gotcha.
But the volume of plays has been more than what we've seen. They threw it more than they ran it on Saturday. That's a symptom of being behind in a game, right? Like, you go to the air more when you got to catch up. So they've got to find a way to play from the front so that they can control the clock. They lost time of possession by 13 minutes. Over 36 minutes to 23 minutes that Arkansas held the ball over Auburn. So offensively, you just got to get that thing going, Rex, and hopefully he's got a plan for that. But it starts with not turning the ball over so you can sustain drives.
You mentioned it. It's only one conference game. We've only played one.
It's just one.
Now, it does seem from the temperature, when you look at the fan base online, message boards, I know it's a very different place than reality. Are we hitting the panic button, or should we just stay calm? We played one conference game. We just need to stay calm, right?
No, the panic button is firmly hit, and it's because of the schedule ahead. The schedule is daunting ahead. So if you can't solve what ails your team right now, Auburn may be looking at a fourth straight losing season. It hasn't happened since the 1940s. So yes, the panic button is hit, and the reason it's hit as well too is because you had to show proof of concept this year. You've got a great recruiting class in stock. There was a lot of speculation that Deuce Knight might commit in these next couple weeks. If you're a Deuce, you're looking at this and you're thinking, is this really the place for me? Keandre Lambert-Smith is on pace to be Auburn's first 1,000-yard receiver since 1999.
Wow.
Ronnie Daniels, right?
Wow.
Had a couple guys come close. Darvin Adams had 997 yards. Sammy Coates had about 907 yards in 2013. But it's just not been often. And in today's college football, these guys want to sling the ball.
Right.
They don't want to play in conservative offenses, and they don't want to play ball control. They want to go out and they want to be playmakers. So it is time to hit the panic button. You've got to show recruits that this system is headed the right direction, and so far through 4 games, Auburn football seems to be headed backwards.
All right, so we definitely need to get some wins here, set the future up right, because again, that third year is kind of when expectations also go through the roof for a head coach who's taken over a program. Before we get your final thoughts, where can people find you, Mike G, and all the great content?
Follow us on YouTube first and foremost at The War Rapport. That's where we live. That's where all our content lives. You can also follow us on social media at The War Rapport on every social media platform, and we're TW Rapport on TikTok. Follow me on Twitter as well at Mike Gittens.
Guys, Mike G is a phenomenal follow as well. They do great content, and that's why we're so blessed to have this partnership. I want to get your final thoughts heading into Oklahoma. I mean, like you said, we're in another must-win situation for Auburn, right?
We are in a must-win situation. You can't lose this game and go into October 2-3. That's an absolute disaster. Preseason, we were all talking about this possibly being a 5-0 stretch for Auburn headed into Georgia. Now, your team morale is at stake. right? Like everything that you've built to this point is at stake. You've got to go in and you've got to find a way to get the win. Rex, at this point, it doesn't even matter what it looks like, right? Just score more points than they do when the clock hits triple zeros and get out of there with the win and survive to another week where you can go back to the drawing board and try to figure it out. To do that, they're going to need to get the ball to the playmakers. We talked about Malcolm Simmons last week. How do you get him on the field more? Is he more assignment sound 1 week more into his college career so that you can get him the ball to make plays? You just need guys to make plays at this point. You can't overthink this. Get the ball to the playmakers, let them make plays, score more points than the other team, and try to get to next week at Georgia and hope you can pull out a miracle somewhere in October.
And we've seen miracles happen before with this team. So hopefully,
especially on the Plains.
Exactly. Yeah. Weird things happen on the Plains, and it's phenomenal. War Rapport Wednesday with a superstar that is Mike G. Mike G,
I appreciate that. Hey, for the listeners, just a reminder, this is Oklahoma's first trip to Jordan-Hare ever in the history of college football.
Let's make it nice and loud and comfortable for the Sooners, right? Mike G, thank you so much, my friend.
I appreciate that, Rex.